year on Halloween, this town goes batshit crazy.
Trick or treat.
Slightest idea what you're dealing with.
Hi, this is Brendan Ford.
And this is Mr. Motor City, Jed Schaefer.
And this is Tony the Tiger, aka the Thunder from Down Under.
Welcome to the Blind Rage podcast. And it is the season of the witch. Are you guys excited for Halloween?
I certainly am. I'm seeing all the candy in the supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I'm already wearing my costume.
Do we want to open that door?
Fat slob, that's what I'm wearing for Halloween, but
You're wearing my costume.
Don't you hate when you go to a party and someone's wearing the same outfit?
Damn you for being a fat slob too. I am enjoying I started this last year. Letterboxd has something called Hooptober, where they set this. It's almost like a scavenger list of movies, and the whole idea is that you got to pick movies that fit all the different criteria, and then watch them between like the end of September and the end of October. So it'll be like 2 movies from the 80s, and 2 movies that are sequels, and 2 movies that are folk horror movies, and so on and so forth. And it's called Hooptober because the one criteria is always you have to have a Tobe Hooper movie.
Oh, okay.
So I joined in on it last year and tortured my wife with like 25 movies, and get to do it again.
Yeah. I didn't even say which movie we're doing a commentary for this week. And Jed is bursting at the seams for this one. We are doing the 2015 anthology Tales of Halloween. And I misspoke earlier, Jed. Ty West is not involved in this one. I thought he was, but he's not. I think I got confused because he's in, or he directed a segment in another Halloween anthology, which is escaping me. It's not the houses October built. No. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, Ty West is not involved. But there are a slew of horror A-listers, which I will get into. But first, I would like to get the plugs out of the way before we get into anything. So first and foremost, I would like to encourage everyone to please check out my books in hardcover, Kindle, and paperback editions by going to Amazon.com and typing in Brandon Ford. You'll also find my Amazon author page, which you can subscribe to in order to receive email notifications of upcoming releases or new releases. I also have several titles available in audiobook format, which you can find on audible.com or the Audible app by typing in Brandon Ford. If you don't already, please follow me on Instagram at writer Brandon Ford. I am on both Letterboxd and Twitter at Brandon Ford. Tony is also on Letterboxd at Tony_the_bear. One of these days, we're going to have to get him to get an Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, suggestions, recommendations, feel free to email me directly at blindragepod81@gmail.com. Please don't forget to stop by the official Blind Rage Podcast Facebook page to like and subscribe. Last and most importantly, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Blind Rage Podcast on your preferred podcasting platform.
And also,
Jed, plug it up.
You've got your Letterboxd.
Jed's going to do his thing.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
I was getting worried. I was all concerned.
I appreciate your concern. Twitter, you can find me at StreetsAjed. Yes, I've changed my Twitter handle. I do that periodically. Live with it. You can find me on Letterboxd at Jed Schaefer. Yeah, that's about it.
Before we get into the movie, let's get into recent views, listens, reads. Tony, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, the last movie I watched was just I was on feeling whimsical, so I watched the Ben Stiller movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I just felt like that type of movie. And then I started watching a show called I'm Not Okay With This. After hearing about it, I was listening to a Carrie podcast, and they mentioned how that there's a bit of a supernatural...
There's a whole podcast dedicated to Carrie?
Well, it's an episode of a podcast.
Oh.
I was confused too. I'm like, what did he do? Is an episode a minute or what? How they get life out of this thing?
Sorry. And they just mentioned the series, and I thought I'd check it out, and I quite enjoyed it. So it's only 7 episodes. I'm 3 episodes in, and they're about half an hour each, so it's not too long, but hopefully it looks promising. And what about you guys?
That's it?
Yeah.
That's all you got
Yeah,
for
all I
us? Well, that
I'm
was
short and
disappointing. Jed, how about you?
Let's see. Today, actually, like earlier today, I watched Censor.
Oh, did you enjoy
Oh,
it?
nice.
I honestly don't know what I think of it. It's a movie I'm really going to have to sit there and think about for a while because it's so much a movie of two halves. Like there's this very, very slow burn first half that kind of feels like it's reminiscent in a way of 8mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said that too.
But then in the second half, it just goes fucking insane. And the last 15 minutes are, I don't even know what the hell I watched. So I don't want to spoil it for listeners who haven't seen it yet. You have to see it and just judge for yourself. Because if you go in with any kind of spoilers,
Yeah. That sounds interesting,
it's
because I personally like movies that shift tone halfway through. I know there's people who really don't like it, but if it's done well, I think that it can work quite nicely, and it goes, oh, this is completely different from the first half, and I quite like where it's gone.
I loved it. That's actually one that I'm looking forward to doing an episode on.
yeah, I have to think about it more. Like my immediate reaction after watching it was, that was different. And then the more I'm sitting about it and sitting here thinking about it, the more I'm like, well, I like the bravery of the tonal shift. Did they do it well? And I don't know. It's odd. It's definitely, it's a movie that's sitting with me, and I'm sure that I'll be thinking about it tomorrow. Like normally I'm, an hour or two after I've watched the movie, I'm writing my Letterboxd review. If I get to this by Monday, I'll be surprised because I really don't know what to say about it.
Its job then.
I just don't know what to say about it is the thing. Like, I don't know how to process the movie.
Did you see any? Because from what I hear, there's a lot of paraphernalia of the video nasties, like posters and stuff, in the offices where she edits the movies. Did you see any of those?
I was looking around trying to pick up on them. I didn't really pick up on them very well. Although they, at the beginning, the very beginning, like the credit sequence, it is a montage of movies, film clips from movies of that late 70s, early 80s era. And there's all sorts of movies that, horror, not just horror aficionados, but like deep cut, the people who are watching, Driller Killer and Maniac and stuff, that second and third tier level horror. There's just a shitload of clips from there. I'm assuming all from Video Nasties. So.
Well, there's the banned category, and then there's the not banned category, and Maniac was not banned, surprisingly.
Okay.
That is surprising. But yeah, so that's one of the movies. I'd say the other movie to mention, not a horror movie, but it's also a movie that left me kind of in the middle, and I don't know what to think of it. It's a documentary called Kurt Cobain Montage of Heck.
Another Kurt Cobain documentary?
Well, this one was made not only with the cooperation of just about everyone in his life, with the exception of Dave Grohl. This also uses a whole bunch of his writings, his illustrations, his lyrics, and home video footage.
Yeah.
So it's very much an attempt to demystify the public image of Kurt Cobain and actually treat him as a man and go, look, this guy was a father. He put on pants. He ate dinner. He had to shave.
Yeah.
The problem is seeing those home videos feels really invasive.
I would think so. Yeah.
And even though it was done with the cooperation of his mom and his sister and the horrible skanky bitch that was his wife and and his bandmates, it's still, I really don't need to see him playing with his baby, or it feels, as much as demystifying him, it's demystifying him in the wrong way. Like, I just don't need that window into his life. So I appreciate the effort, but I'm not sure that the execution accomplishes what they want.
So do you reckon it might not be a great movie for a pure Nirvana fan, that you need to be a fan of Kurt Cobain as opposed to Nirvana?
I don't want to say you can't be one without the other, because you can. You don't have to love Nirvana. You don't have to worship Kurt Cobain to love Nirvana, but it's I don't know. I think the other, in a roundabout way to answer your question, I think the other problem with the movie is that it's 2022. I mean, the movie was made in 2015. Okay, so even if we go then, that's 21 years after the man died.
Yeah.
He's fully demystified by now. The cult of Kurt Cobain died. It faded into obscurity by the time we all hit the late 90s. So I don't know who this is really for. There might be some really slavish Kurt Cobain cultists, and it might bother them, and maybe it'll be better for just pure Nirvana fans, but I also feel like they already know.
Yeah.
So,
do you reckon it would have worked better as a fictionalized movie? If you're a fan that just wants to get a backstory of Kurt Cobain, as opposed to seeing true footage, because then you could feel like you're getting to know him, but at the same time you'd have at an
that
arm's
step.
length. Yeah.
Yeah, it would. You'd know that, okay, maybe these conversations aren't 100% realistic. This isn't what they always said, and everything's passed through the fictional filter. Yeah, I would say it would work a lot better as like a walk the line Ray kind of biopic.
Yeah.
Did you see that one? I think HBO did it. It was more about Courtney, and it had like reenactments with her.
No, and I can't say that would be anything I would ever watch. I don't know if I've made it clear. I hate her.
Well, I think this was not done with her permission, and I don't think it was done to make her look particularly good.
That wouldn't
Was
be hard.
there?
See, I'm a
was
huge
there
Hall
in-
fan.
Of course you are. Was
Sorry.
there any interviews with Kurt's father?
In Montage of Heck, yes. Briefly.
And did he talk about their relationship as being positive or negative?
Kind of neutral. Like he didn't really spit shine it. He pretty much said that I loved him, but he was a troubled kid, and he went. He would go from house to house and kind of wear out his welcome, and he wore out his welcome at our house. So it was. He didn't slander him, but he didn't shower him with praise either. It was just kind of matter of fact.
Yeah.
There's another one about him called About a Son. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm.
I've heard
That
of that
one-
but not seen it.
That one is comprised of audio recordings that the documentarian did with Kurt for this documentary. It's just the two, Kurt being interviewed, the two of them talking, and the video is just footage of the areas that Kurt lived and his stomping grounds and everything. And he did speak about his relationship with his father, and he had a lot of resentment toward him. And he said that they did not have a good relationship. His father was not supportive at all about art or creativity, and kind of belittled him for like little drawings that he would do as a child. And then I saw this other documentary with his father, and with him saying, "Oh, I was so proud of him, and I kept all of his pictures, and I encouraged his artistry, and blah 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 blah." And selective memory, I suppose.
I would imagine that the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Everyone's the hero of their own memory.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that, maybe his dad probably tried to be supportive, but I mean, just about everyone that was on the documentary that lived with Kurt at any point in time, they all said, if they all had one thing in common, they all said that as a young man, Kurt was a pain in the ass to live with. So when you got 4 or 5 different people saying that, I'm gonna kind of give it some credence. So,
Well, I'm not saying that Kurt was, easy to be around. He definitely had some mental issues, and he did have a lot of issues with anxiety, and he was overwhelmed by even the smallest things, like doing laundry and taking out garbage. Like, he used to have panic attacks over that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So he definitely needed some kind of, and plus he had that consistent pain in his stomach.
Mm-hmm. And apparently he was hypersensitive to criticism. Like,
Yeah.
that guitar sounded a little bit out of tune. Ruin his whole day.
Yeah.
That type of just overwhelmed by the most minor of negative comments.
I used to listen to this show on satellite radio on their music channel Volume, and one of the hosts is a music journalist, and she has been for several years. And she was at the taping of the Unplugged in New York MTV special. And she said after the show, the audience kind of stuck around, even though the band didn't really want anything to do with signing autographs or anything. And this one young girl was brazen enough to walk up to Kurt, and I don't know what she said. I think she just kind of gushed, and he spat in her face and walked away.
Interesting reaction.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Like, there's really
But again,
no
this
need
was
for that.
this was somebody who was not well.
True. Like,
He had a lot of problems.
yeah. So it's like it was a bad reaction, but at the same time, you go, yeah, I kind of.
It was post-verbal.
I want to give him some credit for having mental health, but at the same time, like, you can't use mental health as a shield for being an asshole.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Your turn.
My turn. I got two. The first one is a documentary series on Netflix, Bad Vegan. You guys watch that?
I've heard of that, but not seen it.
I've not heard of it.
Well, it kind of reminded me a little bit of The Tinder Swindler, except that the girl came across as very, very stupid. I hate to say it, but she did. But she was, I'd be willing to bet that her restaurant was what inspired the fictitious restaurant Raw that was on Sex and the City, because she had a very similar restaurant for vegans, and she had a vegan cookbook, and she's very affluent, and she meets this guy, and things kind of fall apart almost immediately, because he starts asking her for thousands of dollars and keeps telling her that all of this is a test to see if her love for him is real. And if she does it, and she had a dog that she's very close to, and she's I forget what his name is. But she said, but he convinced her that if she did everything that he said, both she and he and the dog would live forever, in some kind of utopian world. And she taped a lot of the recordings, and he was very nasty, especially when she wouldn't do exactly what he wanted when he wanted. And yeah, he conned her out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, so much money that she couldn't afford to pay her staff. So there was a walkout, and the restaurant eventually closed, and they went on the lam, and were fugitives, basically. Yeah, I mean, like, I know it's hard to judge when you're not in that particular situation, but listening to her tell her story and listening to the conversations that they had and the things that he did and the way he spoke to her and what he demanded of her, it's really difficult to wrap your brain around how somebody could be so forthcoming with so many unreasonable demands from someone who really didn't even do anything in return except ask for more whenever he got what he wanted. So it was interesting, but it was also frustrating. But yeah, if you want to watch that, it's a 4-part documentary. What are you gonna say?
Well, as a vegan, did she feel bad going on the lamb?
My second one is a novel. It's called Beauty by Brian D'Amato, and it's a cross between Bret Easton Ellis and Frankenstein. And
That's a weird combo.
Yeah, it was a weird book. Well, it was about this guy who had found this way to make artificial skin. So his thing was doing basically backdoor plastic surgery without it being surgery, because the patients were awake during the process, and he would replace their skin with this artificial skin that was kind of like felt like silicone-ish, but it didn't, since it wasn't real flesh, it wasn't warm, so it was kind of cold. And so all of these Hollywood movie stars were completely getting their faces redone. It's hard to say how I feel about it, because I literally just finished it right before you messaged me, Tony. But I mean, I can definitely see where the Bret Easton Ellis came in, because, especially with American Psycho, because much like American Psycho, there is just passages of endless rambling. It's like, what? This doesn't need to be here. This has nothing to do with anything. And I also think that he is a fan of Frank Henenlotter, because there's a scene where he is, or the main character, rather, is a friend of his is they're scientists, medical school dropouts or whatever, and they're always experimenting with different things, and he's in this laboratory where his friend made things like a pigeon rat, except a little more sophisticated. And the friend said, some of these monsters look like they belong in a John Frankenheimer movie or whatever. And he meant Frank Henenlotter. The writing got on my nerves a bit, because a lot of it, the dialogue, a lot of it was character A trying to convince character B of something, and character B going, I don't know. It happened like a million times. Or there's character A trying to explain something and saying, like at the end of every sentence. That drove me crazy. I don't like authors who overuse things like that. There's another author, John Saul, who has like a collection of maybe 30 to 40 words that he uses over and over and over again, phrases he uses over and over again. His books all follow the same template. They may be different, but they're all patterned the same way. So yeah, I'm very, what's the word?
Duplicitous?
I have an anathema to that kind of writing. What?
I was just throwing out a word.
Yes. The writer who is criticizing the writings of other people is having trouble finding words. So yeah, that was that. It was okay. I'd heard about it because I recently read a memoir by, I think I told you this, Tony, by Brad Fraser, the playwright who wrote Love and Human Remains.
Yes, yeah.
He was going. Well, the interesting thing was in the book, in his book, in Brad Fraser's book, he talked about how he read Beauty and he really liked it. And he talked about how he identified with it because it was very quirky and weird. And that's the kind of stuff that he writes. And he really wanted to adapt it into a movie. And he wrote the screenplay, but he never says what came of it. But I guess it didn't get made because I couldn't find it anywhere. So those are my two. And we had a very interesting debate about whatever happened to Baby Jane off mic that I kind of wish had been recorded now. Especially since both of you have lost your voices.
I was just in a trance.
Then we'd have to
listening
reenact
a
it. We'd have to reenact it, and how much fun is a remake?
Yes. You lose that spontaneity.
Yeah. Well, next time I'm just gonna, as soon as we connect, we're just gonna start recording.
Well, you need to be like one of those weirdos that records everything even before we're recording, like Tommy Wiseau on the set of The Room.
Tommy Wiseau, really? Tommy Wiseau.
Hey, Tommy Wiseau can't pronounce most of words right. Why should we respect his last name?
Wiseau.
Tony can't pronounce anybody's name.
No, I
Who's
can't.
that actor who always comes up? What's his name? Jonathan what, Tony?
Taylor Thomas?
No.
No,
I'd be impressed if he came up.
I know. Who? No, now
I
you got me
listen
thinking Jonathan.
I listen regularly.
Jonathan
I never hear him.
Skeech. Oh, no.
Sheck. Jonathan Sheck. And you still can't pronounce his name.
Aiden.
No, we don't talk about Jonathan Taylor Thomas on this podcast, and I don't think anybody talks about Jonathan Taylor Thomas on any podcast.
I don't think Jonathan Taylor Thomas talks about Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
No.
Where the hell is he? What happened to him? That's so
He actually
odd.
came up on a Wikipedia thing for a movie that we did last time, but it turned out he wasn't, like, it was just accidentally he was mentioned in it.
Okay, I'm going to need you to rephrase that whole thing because none of what you said made any sense.
Can you smell burnt toast?
Can you lick my asshole? You didn't make any sense.
That's all right. Shall we get on with the movie?
No, because now I wanted to say something and I forgot what it was. Oh, and Jed, you are like one of 100 people lately that I have been hearing mention Night Court. Like, for some reason, that's had a resurgence. A lot of people are watching Night Court. So I was going to pick up the DVDs. I was going to looking at the set. And first of all, I didn't know there were 9 seasons. I thought there were like 4. But their DVD set on Amazon is fucking like $300.
For Night Court?
Yeah.
Dear God. I mean, I like the show, but not $300 like it.
Yeah, no. And I don't think I ever watched it in syndication. I remember watching it when it was actually on in prime time.
Me too.
And I remember shortly thereafter, Marsha Warfield had her own talk show, and then she disappeared. I don't know what happened to her.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember that too. Yeah, let's get on with the movie. I'll look up Marsha Warfield later.
Okay. So, Jed, where can our listeners watch Tales of Halloween?
Oh, a whole hell of a lot of places. You can watch it for free, usually ad-supported on IMDb TV, Plex, Dark Matter TV, I'm sorry, Crackle, Redbox, Canopy, Tubi, Vudu, and the Roku channel.
What is Dark Matter TV?
I've never fucking heard of it, man. I've looked up Tales of Halloween on Just Watched, and like I recognize all these icons, and then there's this last one, Dark Matter, and like the icon is like a sun that's going through a solar eclipse. So all you see is the black circle and then the penumbra around it, and in the middle it says Dark Matter. I'm like, I'm not familiar with this thing.
Yeah, apparently there's a handful of horror or exploitation streaming services. There's another one that I go to occasionally, but they don't really have a lot of.
They're all exploitation.
It's rare that they. It's rare that they upload something that's actually good, but it's called Midnight Pulp. And there's another one that has a lot of the same stuff that's on Tubi called what's it called? Screenbox.
Yeah.
And they just put up both seasons of Freddy's Nightmares, which was pretty crazy. I think it's in standard definition though. But Dark Matter, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
I have a feeling I without being in front of my TV and downloading it, looking at it, I don't know, but having downloaded quite a number of the free horror streaming apps that are available on Roku, they all typically have the same library of C-level direct to DVD or direct to streaming horror movies. You know, you'll occasionally get something like Phantasm or Dawn of the Dead, or, you know, occasionally a decent movie, but you never see the big horror names. You're not going to find like The Thing or Alien or Friday the 13th on there. It's always going to be like The Beach and Zombievers and shit like that.
Mrs. Claus. Have you looked at the horror section in Tubi lately? Those bitches have gone full Hollywood.
I think the app got bought. I don't know if it got bought out by Fox or if it was always owned by Fox, but now they're dumping money into it. Or
because I remember reading
owned?
the article about it when it first came to Australia.
All right, so we're going to begin Tales of Halloween in 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, it's like a spoof of Universal.
Okay, hang on a second. I think we have to start this again. I fucked up. Sorry.
What did you do, Ray?
Fucked it.
I didn't start the movie. All right, we're gonna start it again. Everybody ready to start it again?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, play. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, I was saying earlier that there are a lot of horror movie all-stars in this one, and a lot of named directors, which I'll start with. Hang on. So we got Neil Marshall, Darren Lynn Bousman, Axel Carolyn, Lucky McKee, Andrew Cash. Shut up! Why is this so loud? Oh my god.
It's the stereo mix.
Paul Solet, John Skip, which I thought was interesting because he's known primarily as an author. Adam Girish and Jace Anderson, Mike Mendez. He did something noteworthy that I don't remember what
Big
it was.
Ass Spider?
No, something that was actually good. Ryan Schifrin, Dave Parker. And then for the stars, we have here Adrienne Barbeau, who we just saw, as the DJ. We have Lin Shaye, who everybody knows and loves. Barry Bostwick, Greg Grunberg, John Landis, Joe Dante, Barbara Crampton, who, again, I think I've said this before, has been fucking everywhere. She's been in straight-to-video stuff and Hollywood stuff, so good for her. James Duvall, Adam Green, Alex Esso, dead girl herself, Stuart Gordon, R.I.P., Mick Garris, Mark Center, Kristen Klebe, Claire Kramer, John Savage, Caroline Williams, Robert Russler. Caroline Williams and Robert Russler, who played a couple in this and then play a couple in the remake of Blood Feast the year after this, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
Tiffany Shepis, one of my favorite scream queens ever. We got Greg McLean in an acting role. Felissa Rose, Noah Sagan, Serena Vincent, Cabin Fever, and that's it, of those who are recognizable. So just based on that extensive list, I would have to guess that this budget couldn't have been that low unless this was a labor of love for a lot of participants.
Well, it kind of gave me, in a good way, movie 43 vibes, where it just had people coming together to do something for fun.
That's not the first time a movie that has been done on this podcast has been compared to movie 43.
Yeah, that's an odd thing to hear for like the second time.
It's in my core. It's a core memory, like Inside Out. And I like. I think Night of the Living Dead gets played a few times in this movie.
Well, Night of the Living Dead's public domain.
Well, and it's a great movie.
If you look at everybody uses it though. It's not.
This is free, man.
It's free, exactly. Whenever you watch a low budget horror movie where there's characters watching a horror movie, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be Night of the Living Dead.
Now, was that Pittsburgh or Philadelphia?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, missed again.
Yes. Romero was from Pittsburgh and I think didn't he make all of his movies in Pittsburgh? I think.
Maybe.
Is that Dawn of the Dead, that mall?
Yes.
Was that in Pittsburgh?
I believe so. Because, I was listening to that on a podcast and they talked about the mall, how they used to go there.
I've been trying to find the budget for Tales of Halloween and I can't.
Yeah, I'm really interested in knowing what it was.
It's mafia budget.
Yeah.
Who's the mother here?
The mother is... Hang on, because I've got the Wikipedia page up right now.
I know she's somebody.
Caroline Williams.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. See, she reminds me of the mother from Drop Dead Fred, but it's obviously not her.
What?
In the face.
Not at all. No.
I have not seen Drop Dead Fred in so long, I cannot comment.
You know who Marsha Mason is, though.
The mother from Drop Dead Fred. No, what's she from?
Marsha Mason. I'm sure once I see her, I'll know her. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
By the way, when I was looking up stuff on Drop Dead Fred, I was trying to look up what Rick Mayall passed away from, and I couldn't find that. But granted, I didn't search all that deeply. All it said was that he died suddenly.
Yeah.
But I was also looking up stuff about Drop Dead Fred, and when it came out, Gene Siskel gave it, I think, no stars and said it was one of the worst movies he's ever
Yeah,
seen.
a lot of critics didn't like it.
Oh, no, it was critically panned.
But I think it was around the time, because Problem Child got panned, and I reckon Curly Sue as well. So it just might have came out at a time where critics were especially vicious. And it's probably towards non-Disney movies as well.
It's impossible to not think of Drop Dead Fred when watching or reading Danielle Isn't Real.
I used to confuse Freddy's Dead with Drop Dead Fred as a child.
Most people confuse Freddy's Dead and Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, that's a mistake. You get ripped torn.
Timmy ate all the candy he could find in
Now, Jed, would you like to explain to the class why you hated this movie so much?
Absolutely. I think that the format of 10 stories does the stories no favors. You can't get invested in any of them because they're in, they're out, like just too rapid fire. I think a lot of them are mean-spirited. I think they have endings that are trying to go for this sinister twist or this clever kind of twist at the end. But the problem is that you look at a movie or you look at something like Twilight Zone, where they had those kind of twist endings where someone kind of got snapped back. Like the Burgess Meredith episode where he's the last man on earth and all he wants to do is read. And he's an antisocial asshole and he gets what he wants. And
He's not an asshole.
He is an asshole.
He was a sweetheart.
No,
I
he
felt
wasn't.
bad.
No, he wasn't he was selfish and antisocial.
He just wanted to read.
And he wanted the world to go fuck off.
You're hitting too close to Brandon's heart.
He just wanted to read like the kid in Adam's Family Values.
Yeah, I disagree. I think he was just an unpleasant, bitter old man who didn't want the world anywhere near him. My point, though, is that those kind of that episode, or To Serve Man, or Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, or any of them, they had like a twist that kind of played back on the person.
A sense of irony.
But it was earned. Here, the endings aren't earned. They're just awful. I mean, these first two put kids in this horrible position at the end of them, and then that goes to my third problem, is that so many of these stories revolve around the same theme. Like the first 6 of them are all about bullying, and it's all about the bullied turning the tables, and they feel redundant one after another, and just none of the stories landed for me. They were all too short. They were all too, the ones that weren't mean-spirited, I just kind of went, okay, that was 8 minutes.
Do you reckon it would have worked better had there been a head writer to sort of say this is too repetitive, or let's have a better arc?
I think that would have helped. But I think that needed to be one thing that happened. I think the other thing that needed to happened is kill 5 of these stories.
Well, it did have what's her name? Who was one of the directors? Axel something.
Carolyn?
Yeah. This was basically her baby. And she
Miscarriage.
said yay or nay to all of the stories.
She should have. Then I don't trust her picks, because some of these are just too redundant of each other.
I feel like she yay or nay to the director as opposed to the story.
She did that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it was more based on the name than what
Yeah,
happens.
because I think I could have even let go of I could even say it would be a better movie without a head writer kind of overseeing things if it just had 4 or 5 stories. Make them longer, punch them up. But you look at the runtime of this movie, it's an hour 34, but I timed it. I was just curious. The opening credits are an animation sequence is about 3.5 minutes. The end credits is about six and a half. So
I noticed that.
that's 10 minutes of opening and closing credits, which leaves 84 minutes for 10 stories. That's just too much. This movie's going at too fast a pace.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were trying to do a more modern creep show. And
But
I
didn't
think
Creepshow
that
had like
they
maximum
were
5, didn't it?
yes, the first one's 5, the second one is 3, and the third one nobody gives a shit about. But with this, I think they were trying to. The idea was to take the horror anthology subgenre and kind of turn it on its ear and do it in a completely different way, in a way that had never been done before. And there aren't really that many, with the exception of this, could have possibly been inspired by the ABCs of Horror, which is, I believe, the movie that I was thinking of with Ty West that he partook in. But those were even shorter because that one has 26 segments because it's the ABCs of Horror. And I think the running time is about 2 hours on the nose. So
I've never given that one a shot for that very reason. I saw 26 stories in under 2 hours. I'm like, no, that's like watching horror TikTok.
Yeah, that's been the imagery I've been having as we're having this conversation. It's like watching America's Scariest Home Videos.
Yeah. And I wanted something to settle. I wanted a story to have some time to breathe and let me get into the characters. Because, was I supposed to feel bad for those 2 teenagers? I don't know a damn thing about them.
Rose, I'm right here. Nah, your sister took your costume, bud. You even breathing that thing. It's 100 fucking degrees outside.
I love how he's talking like this in front of a little
child,
kid.
yes.
Oh my god, Billy! I'm an idiot. I totally forgot to ask. Did your mother
What?
Not just take anything away from Adrienne Barbeau. I love Adrienne Barbeau. I think she is an icon and a legend, but I think some of her little segments could have been taken out in order to pad, or not to pad, but to give some of the stories a little more running time, because her talking into the microphone really doesn't add anything at all.
No,
It simply incidentally binds them. It doesn't bind them on any non-superficial way.
Yes, and it's just, it's just, she's just included because she's Adrienne Barbeau and she's a horror legend. So it's like, okay, well, we
Doing
have
the
to have something
DJ
for her
thing
to
from
do.
the fog.
It feels like they went, well, we're doing this kind of rapid fire Tales from the Crypt-esque anthology thing. We need a crypt keeper. Grab Adrienne Barbeau, which I don't know why. I really don't get the leap there, but okay. But if you take her out of this movie, it affects absolutely nothing that happens in any of the 10 stories.
I just remembered, by the way, what Mike Mendez did. He did The Convent, which Adrienne Barbeau was also in.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's Brad Majors.
It took me a while to recognize that this was Barry Bostwick.
It took me reading it to go, today to go.
I didn't figure it out until It was a shot here in the house. I think it was later. I think it was like after he comes back from trick or treating, where I looked at him and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Barry Bostwick. That's the mayor from Spin City."
Oh,
Really? That's what you know him from?
Well, yeah, I know him from other things, but in my mind, the thing that I associate him most with is that.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people know him from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Get it together.
I've never been able to sit through the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It bores me to tears.
Damn it, Janet.
That hurts me physically.
Sorry, I don't get the appeal of it. I will give Tim Curry all the credit in the world. You will never hear me say a bad thing about Tim Curry. He is a legend. He is a god. That man is transformative as an actor. Everything he does, even in the shittiest of movies, is magic. Like, I will watch Home Alone 2 just for him.
Don't count your chips in public.
But Rocky Horror Picture Show, I don't even like really musicals much, so it's like got 2 strikes against it. I think I maybe got about a half an hour in and went, why? What is any of this? I'm going to go play Sega Genesis.
I'm assuming you've seen the episode of Tales from the Crypt he was in.
I probably have. Remind me of which one it is.
Death of Some Salesman with Ed Begley Jr. He plays 3 different characters. Mother, father, daughter.
I couldn't tell you anything about it, but I remember seeing an episode with Ed Begley Jr., so I'm positive that I've seen the episode. I just don't remember any details.
I think that, I mean, the episode itself is okay. It's all in his performance because he does. You could swear it's 3 different people.
I'll just
They're
say,
that
I feel
different.
like he should have put blood on these things because they look like tampons.
Oh,
Billy, what the hell, man?
Billy, you little shit! What are you doing? Is that gasoline? Are you joking me?
Are you joking me? Lord.
you know who used to say that all the time?
Idiots.
Jason Ellis, who is an Aussie, by the way.
Oh. Well, he's forgiven.
I thought of you the other day, Tony. So there's a YouTube
Hopefully in a
channel
good
that I
way.
watch. Yeah, well, I thought of you because yes, it wasn't a good way, but so there's this YouTube channel I watch called Ordinary Sausage. Where
Okay, I'm
it
following.
was started. The whole premise of it is this guy makes sausage, except for he makes sausage out of things that you wouldn't make sausage out of, like a Big Mac or salmon kubiak or wild stuff. The tour of Italy at Olive Garden. He'll just put a whole bunch of random shit into a sausage grinder, put it in a casing, cook it, see how it turned out as a sausage.
Yeah.
Last week, recently he's been doing like more liquid and paste and stuff like that, and then infusing it into pork. Last week, he did Vegemite.
Oh, okay. Well,
So you can see where
yes,
because I know 2 Australians, you and another a friend of mine that I've known a while, and so immediately I was like, yeah, I wonder what they would think of this.
now I will
I
say
thought you
that
were
when
gonna say
we
you
have
put koala in
Vegemite,
there.
we do just smear it on toast. We don't, we don't bury it with Vegemite. But the other thing is, I could actually imagine that working because Vegemite to me has got a slight similarity to soy sauce. So if you use it in that way, I could imagine it helping an ingredient.
And that's pretty much what he said. Like, he tried the Vegemite straight and was repulsed, but then once it was mixed into the pork and then cooked, he said that it gave it a flavor that was vaguely like soy sauce, and that it came out remarkably better than he thought it would.
But yeah, when you have a toast and butter it up and then smear some Vegemite, it's quite lovely. Add a bit of cheese.
I don't even know what Vegemite is.
It's a yeast extract.
Excellent work back there, Mordecai. Now, if you'd be so kind as to
And now we're coming up on my least favorite ending of the 10 stories.
and I believe you'll find some visitors at your
Was it the gunshot?
Why don't you
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. I will give you that.
like, so not only do you frame this kid for multiple murders, arson, vandalism, grand theft, or whatever, robbing a convenience store would be armed robbery. He dies in a hail of gunfire.
Yeah, that would not happen.
Well,
Like this is the second
Even
story
in America, that would not happen.
right. And this is the second story in a row where a kid has been like
traumatized.
traumatized and set up for a crime. Because they reference later, spoilers, but if you're listening, you're probably watching this anyway. They reference later that the kid in the first story, the cops arrested him for murdering his babysitter and his babysitter's boyfriend.
Oh, yep. Yes.
So-
yes.
I mean, this town is fucked up, man.
I think it's all the same, supposed to be the same street.
Yeah.
Or the same neighborhood.
Yeah, well, same town at least, because like I think it's the next story with the three bullies, the one that's led by the chick. That one takes place on like the wrong side of town.
Yes, that's right.
Isn't this the one with Tiffany Shepis?
What is she from, Tiffany?
What the fuck isn't she from? She's been in like 10 million horror movies.
I can't say I'm familiar with her either.
What's the best one
You
you'd
both
give me?
suck.
Well, you know that about me.
And I'm not drunk enough to do that.
$20.
Delta Die.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
She's in a
because of you.
shitload of stuff. Good God, I'm not even looking at her IMDb page. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia, which like it just is select, and she's in like 5-6 movies a year.
Yeah, she works constantly.
She's a workhorse.
Caesar and Otto's Paranormal Halloween, The Pickaxe Murders Part 3, The Final Chapter, Exit to Hell, The Maladjusted, Dropping Evil, The Frankenstein Brothers, Monster Piece Theater Volume 1. I could go on and on and on. I don't know a single one of these movies, but
She was in Bloody Murder 2, which I didn't want to...
I feel like a lot of them come in 5-pack DVDs.
I'm sure.
A lot of them would have been on Tubi before they went full Hollywood.
Oh, God.
She was in at least 2 Troma movies, Tromeo and Juliet and Citizen Toxie, The Toxic Avenger 4.
I think Romeo and Juliet was one of the first things that she did.
Oh, was she underage in that?
Yeah, she was like 16. Or it was either that or they did a wrestling video thing and she had a fake ID. I don't think she did any nudity, but yeah, she or I don't even know if they asked her for ID. I think she just said that she was 18 and they were like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, this is off topic, but what isn't? A lot of porn where they want to cast young people, they tend to use non-Americans because Americans can look a bit older than what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you had to live in this country.
Yeah, being
Well, I
an
mean,
American definitely ages.
I've
you.
aged like a bowl of fruit, so it's not like as if I can say anything. I guess what I didn't really like about this one is I felt like there was no hint to why they were being attacked. That had there sort of had been some mention of their lunatics.
It does feel a little weird, like they're attacked, and then at the end they kind of tie it all together, and they kind of tie it all together almost in passing.
Yeah.
An afterthought.
It's like, oh.
Well, they don't have time to set it up. Time is money, as Drayton Sawyer says. By the way, Tony, two things. I told Jed to lick my plate earlier, and he had no idea what I was talking about. And when I told him it was from Chainsaw 2, he said he has no interest in seeing that, so I'm going to ask you to deal with him.
Okay. We can all have
I'm just not a... I saw I've seen one Texas Chainsaw movie, and that was the original, and I was alternatingly bored and annoyed.
Okay.
I'm not kidding, man. Half the movie I just sat there going, what's the big fucking deal? And then for the last 30 minutes when Marilyn Burns just won't stop screaming, I was just like, would someone chainsaw this bitch's head off?
Now you sound like my mother. That was her biggest gripe with it.
It drove me nuts.
I loved the script. I thought she went like post-verbal to use that term again this podcast.
Let's see how well you fare when you're nailed to a chair with a bunch of cannibals and somebody chasing you with a fucking chainsaw.
Hey, I'm from Detroit, where the weak are killed and eaten.
But see, what was I going to say? Oh, I liked something I appreciated is early in the movie they were showing the cows and they had the camera on their eyes, and then they repeated that with her at the dinner table where it was quite a zoom in.
I don't recall much of it.
No,
I just remember the feeling of it. Even my wife, who is not horror, I mean, I won't say she's horror averse, but there's horror movies that she's seen that she's enjoyed, and there's some that she can sit through and just be like, well, I made him sit through this movie, so
this is your revenge on her.
Yeah, you get to sit through Friday the 13th Part 7 for the 95th time. That's how marriage works. Even
that was in your vows, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. But even she, after Texas Chainsaw, was like, what's the big deal with that movie? I'm like, I don't know. People love it. I'm on an island on this one.
Yes, you are. It's okay to be wrong. That's all right.
Like I say, but I won't say it in your regard, but I say opinions are like assholes and yours can get fucked.
Okay, now you're reusing material?
Yeah, but that's my saying.
And I don't remember hearing that saying, so it's new to me.
Although in regards to, like, a lot of times I'll approach stuff with a sense of humor. So, and hearing that Chainsaw, the filmmakers approached it that way, I also approached it, and I think I enjoyed it in that way as well.
Now here's a tale for all you hood rats over there.
I've got a good sense of humor.
And to be fair, from an objective standpoint, if I stand back, if I take myself out of the situation, take my feelings out of it, I can see what people like about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not like the Friday the 13th remake. Or no, better, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Because I know that there are people who like the Friday the 13th remake. I don't understand it, but that's fine. But I could, if someone told me that they really liked the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, I would be like, why?
I've never met anybody.
Give me a reason. Give me anything concrete because I don't see it. But Texas Chainsaw, I could see what people like about it. I just don't.
Yeah.
By the way, I prefer Julie Brown's take on that phrase in when she plays Lorena Bobbitt in Attack of the 5'2" Women. She says, "Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one hiding in their underwears."
Alice, please.
Okay.
Interesting.
What if you're
I like Tony's
Commando?
version better.
Well, Julie Brown's version was not supposed to make sense.
Which Julie Brown are we talking about? Because I'm thinking of both of them at the moment.
The redhead.
Okay, fair enough.
The only Julie Brown who matters. Okay,
My
Nobody gives
cousin,
two shits about
she
downtown
accidentally
Julie Brown.
had a cigarette stubbed out into her hand. So,
What?
just because this woman was about to put a cigarette in some boy's foot. And so my cousin, she was sneaking a cigarette with in the backyard, and then her parents came home. And the guy that was with her, without looking, went to stub his cigarette out, and he did it right into her hand.
Ouch.
Yes,
Now,
no.
I want to say just total moment of hetero worship here. One, this girl is hot.
She
Grace
is,
Phipps.
yeah.
She is drop dead gorgeous. But aside from that, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a movie on Shudder called Superhost. And it's a very small cast. Like it's only got 4 people in it. And she's in it, and oh my God. You do not see the breadth of this woman's acting ability in this, but Superhost, holy shit, this woman should be a star.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Grace Phipps.
I never heard of her.
She's relatively new as far as I know. I don't know that she's got more than a handful of credits, but Superhost is just breathtaking. It's about
The COVID bat?
Go ahead.
Oh, no,
Tony
you
was trying to be funny. Just keep,
sorry.
just keep talking and act like he's not there.
So it's about this couple who runs a YouTube channel who they do travel blogs. So they go to houses, typically like Airbnb or Vrbo type things, and they do blogs about it, and they show the house and the layout and everything. And their channel is starting to fade, starting to lose viewers. And so they're trying to do some things to try and bring people back. And they go to this house, and Grace Phipps here is the person who is the caretaker of the house, except for she's really, really weird and very off-putting. And there's things in the house that are kind of disturbing that they can't quite figure out. And I'm not going to spoil it because I would rather you guys watch it and find out, and or the listeners if you haven't. But it's the performance that she gives in it is just it's magnetic.
Yeah. It's good when an actor and actress can do weird and toe that line where it's not overstepping.
Yes.
God, why are we listening to Lamb of God? What is going on?
Is that what this band is?
I don't know. They all sound the same to me.
I once got a buddy of mine took me to this was like 15 years ago at least, Mayhem Festival, which was like Lollapalooza but all metal. And I was only there to see 2 bands. And they were the last 2 bands to play. So we're there like 8 hours, and the 2 sub stages, not the 4 bands that were on the main stage, but the 2 stages for the supporting acts are all this kind of band where all the vocalists sound like Cookie Monster. and he's just like, yeah, you want to go see Dillinger Escape Plan? You want to go see Lamb of God? You want to go? I'm like, why? Sounds like they're gargling gravel in a blender. This is horrible. I have to listen to this shit for 8 hours.
And who did you want to say?
Slayer and Marilyn Manson. I regret the second one.
As you should.
Yeah. It's recent, especially with the recent Evan Rachel Wood documentary on HBO Max. Yeah, all of his music.
Oh, she made a whole documentary?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole thing on HBO Max. It's like a 2-part documentary. I haven't seen all of it, just clips, but my wife watched it. But yeah, they go into a lot of detail.
What's it called?
Oh, shit. I don't recall. I will have to look that up. But my wife said it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And
it is annoying when you can judge a book by its cover, and that's sort of the case with Marilyn Manson.
yeah,
Because personally, not that I'm a fan of that type of music, but I do appreciate it as an outlet for people to need to listen to it. My brain works differently, where like my outlet might be, say, techno or something, whereas I know other people need the death metal to sort of sort things out. So I applaud that, but yeah, it's just really shitty the type of person he was.
Yeah, I hoped, and it's called Phoenix Rising. I had hoped that he was. I never believed that it was an act. I mean, he carried himself too sincerely for it to just be all an act. But I hoped that it was just drunken debauchery, absinthe, drugs. That was like typical rock star behavior, but dressed up in like
exaggerated
evil. Yeah, and.
See, I liked him in Bowling for Columbine, and that was sort of my only viewpoint of him that was different, because they were talking about the Columbine
You've
shooters.
seen Jawbreaker.
Yeah, but him not playing a character. They were interviewing Marilyn Manson, and he was
but the character he was in the character he was playing in Jawbreaker wasn't too far removed.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, I had hoped that was, like I said, and then to find out the sexual assault allegations and then all the detail that Evan Rachel Wood went into in Phoenix Rising. Oh boy.
Well, I did read the manifesto that she wrote, and that in itself was horrifying. But I just always saw him as an attention seeker. I did think that a lot of it was just an act, and it was, look how notorious I am. I'm so edgy. And for a while, people bought into it, and it was like, oh my God, look, he's wearing a suit with boobs in it. Oh. And then people got bored of it and then stopped talking about it because the music didn't eclipse all of his antics. So, I mean, if his music was better, I think people would have been talking, would never have stopped talking about him.
I'm not going to counter that. I would say more that the reason he stopped being talking about, at least as far as so much public eye, I think the way that the music factors in, I don't think it has to do with it necessarily being better. It never changed.
Yeah,
that's true.
You can get away with that when you're AC/DC and you're just playing basically bar blues, but with a hard rock edge, and you can make the same album 18 times in a 50-year span. But when your entire career is based on shock and blowing people's minds and being edgy for the sake of being edgy, sooner or later, I know this is going to be a weird kind of cross example, but Lady Gaga.
I was thinking of her, but I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, no. Lady Gaga is a perfect example. meat dresses and all the crazy shit she did for the first two, three albums. And then what does she follow it up with? A cover album with Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
And she looks beautiful, and she's showing that she has vocal range, and then she does acting, and she's got range, and she's a real.
I don't know about that.
I'm just going by what I heard. I have not seen A Star Is Born, but my wife said that it was really good.
Apparently, her performance in House of Gucci is laughable.
Oh,
I've heard that whole
great. Oh.
I've heard that whole movie is laughable, though. So
yeah, if you watch it in that lens.
Yes, true. But at least she's gone past the need to shock and show that she has actual substance, whereas Manson never did. He was always about shock, and when the shock wore off, what's left?
You remember? I remember when her whole shock for the sake of shock, I'm so edgy, look at me thing kind of it kind of kicked her in the ass during the VMAs when she tried so hard to again shock people by dressing up as a nun and have teddy bears dancing on the stage for no reason. It's just put on this really weird performance of, I think it was Applause. And then Miley Cyrus came out with Robin Thicke and started finger blasting herself on stage and dry humping him, and nobody gave two shits about Lady Gaga dressing up as a nun. And I really think that she was not happy because she wanted to be the center of attention, and not for her music, but for her antics. And in that case, Miley upstaged her.
It's possible. And without being in her head, we don't know, but it's possible. I'm
not a Miley fan at all. Don't get me wrong. I really don't care for her.
I've leaned more towards that she pulled a David Bowie, which was be weird at the start, get him interested by gimmick, and then go, oh yeah, hey, by the way, I've got talent. But it's also equally possible that she finally realized that the game of one-upping herself was going to run out, and she had to pivot.
Well, the whole thing about being edgy, I think, if you're going to be edgy, if you're going to provoke, if you're going to push buttons, if you're going to push the envelope, you have to back it up with having something to say. She didn't have anything to say. That was her problem. What was she trying to say with the meat dress? What was she trying to say with showing up on the red carpet in an egg?
I'd forgotten about
Look
the
at
egg.
me. Look at me was all she was trying to say. And that meat dress wasn't even real, by the way.
It wasn't?
No,
I thought
it was
the
made from that.
The photograph was real when she did it on the cover, but the one she wore was at the awards was fake.
It was like that spongy stuff that dog toys are made out of.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I did wonder when she did it. I was like, how's she gonna sit in that all night? Isn't that's gonna reek by like hour 2?
Well, it would have turned into maggots like within 10 minutes, especially under the lights. It would have been impossible.
I didn't get to see the end of this one, and it's one of those because the episodes are so short. If you blink, you'll miss a lot.
Yeah,
I did have that problem. There was a couple times where, like, because I was getting annoyed with where the story was going, so I'd pick up my phone and be like, all right, check Twitter real quick, or play a quick round of Emoji Blast or something, and then I'd look up and I'd be like, oh shit, I'm on the rewind. I missed the ending.
as Tony knows, yeah, all
Giggity.
roads lead to Her Majesty, but
Oh,
one
shock
of
value.
one of Madonna's biggest moments that got her attention was at the VMAs when she kissed Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And again, that wasn't shock for the sake of shock. That was her passing the torch on to the younger generations of pop stars. That was her way of saying, spread your wings.
Oh,
fly.
I disagree vehemently. That was, I don't like being upstaged. I'm still cool. That was a desperate cry for attention by someone who was facing sunset.
That was for her
I know.
American Life album, so.
I know that she's your majesty. She's not to me. And sorry, that was a desperate Hail Mary for a career renaissance.
Well, Christina Aguilera was really pissed because nobody remembered that she kissed her too.
And did Missy Elliott also get a kiss?
No, Missy Elliott hadn't come out yet.
No, later.
No, she didn't get a kiss. But no, Madonna was the groom. Britney and Christina were the brides. And when she came down, she kissed them both. But after she kissed Britney, it cut to Justin Timberlake. And the camera was on him
being a sourpuss
before because they knew. And they were like, oh, he's going to flip out. And he made sure he was stone-faced. Because this wasn't long after they broke up, he and Britney.
I remember the news stories at the time when they would cover it. They'd be like, if they mentioned the Christina Aguilera kiss, which was like 3% of them, it was like a damp squib at the end. It was like, oh yeah, and she also kissed Christina Aguilera too.
Oh, I don't know if I said this on the show before, but that happened on my birthday.
Okay.
That happened on my 22nd birthday. I watched. Well, I knew I knew exactly what was going to happen because I was on all the message boards. So I knew that Britney and Christina were going to be there. I knew Madonna was going to come out of a cake. Didn't know that they were going to kiss, but there was somebody who had seen the rehearsals that day and reported to one of the Madonna fan sites. So they were like, okay, so she's going to open the show and this is what's going to happen. And I was going, this was during my club days. So right before I went out, I watched the opening, and that was kind of like Madonna and Britney's birthday present to me because I was on cloud nine that whole night. I was so happy.
Now, coming back, I will say this is actually my favorite story. It's a stupid story, but
the Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, I just find it had tone, and I gravitate towards quirk when.
Quirky is for sure. I thought her performance was a little too goofy.
The thing that undoes this one for me is the ending.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the ending. Other than that, it is quirky. It after the previous 5 or so, which are terribly bleak.
Yeah.
This one definitely stands out.
There's a breath of
By the way,
fresh air.
what did you think of the ending of the prior one?
Nothing. Yeah. Oh, where she sees the woman in the mirror, or like the woman. Yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was good to see that woman from There's Something About Mary.
Nothing is the appropriate response, because I remember I watched it and then it started this. I'm like, okay, is this the same story? Gotta back it up. No, it's a different story. And I watched that ending 3 times going, that can't be the ending. Did I skip something? Like, it just stops.
Before I watched or listened to it, I had to make sure that I read the entire Wikipedia synopsis because I knew that since the stories were so short, I was probably going to be confused and think that
It's still the same.
one was bleeding into another. Yeah. So I had to know what to expect, when to expect it.
Yeah, because the transitions between stories are lightning fast. They give you almost no time.
No.
Maybe we should call it a night. You know, go to bed early. Forget about all this.
And Tiffany Shepis, when this was filmed, was like 36. And she was playing a teenage babysitter.
Which one is this? This is Ding Dong. Yeah.
Yes. And I think what I... Brandon, you were complaining that everyone reminds you of someone else. I think I like this one as well because she gives me Katherine Heigl vibes.
I can see that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever said, yeah, I can see that when Tony has said this person reminds me of this person because they are, to me,
very often
always oceans apart.
Yeah. I think it's...
Tony and I are on a wavelength. We got a wavelength working.
All right. Well, maybe you should do your own show. Oh.
See you, Brandon. I think I must notice people's like muscle features in their face. So something where there's a similarity, but quite not on the surface.
And it's something in the nose and eyes too. I can't quite place it, but I can see what you're talking about.
Is this Felissa?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is because I think I hear her accent.
And you can hear her
creak
every time her wooden acting goes.
Stop it. Don't say that.
On Wikipedia, she's listed as parent. So, yeah, I'm going to assume that's her. I want to know what oven that she's got that not only goes up to 666 degrees, but has open flame.
One of those fucking pizza ovens that they give away like fucking Skittles on The Price is Right.
Don't take it to spay and neuter.
You want to know what's really sad? This will break your heart.
What?
So it was like a couple weeks ago. I had a day off on a Friday for some reason. And my kids are downstairs and I've got control of the TV and I'm flicking through and I'm like, oh shit, Price is Right. Cool. Yeah. I haven't seen Price is Right in forever. And yeah, it's not the same as it used to be, you know.
Oh, is it Drew Carey?
Yeah, it's still Drew Carey. They've got male models now, which is really off-putting. Like, it's not a bad thing. I'm all for equality, but it's just so weird, you know, like so different. But it was what was depressing for me was the realization that we grew up in an era where if you were sick and you stayed home from school, you watched Price is Right because it was probably the only damn thing on and your mom was probably watching it too. My kids were watching going, what the hell is this?
Yeah. See, our thing was Days of Our Lives was on during that time. So. And I get
my mom did watch several soap operas.
With Stefano and Marlena.
I remember having to sit through that with my first girlfriend. Like, she would get out of high school. I didn't have a driver's license at the time. She did. She would pick me up from work. We would go over to her house. We would lay down on the couch on the TV or lay down on the couch together. And she would be like, I have to watch Days of Our Lives. And it was during the Days of Our Lives storyline where Marlena was possessed by Satan.
Everyone remembers that storyline. I remember seeing it, yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching going, okay, I watched soap operas with my mom, and even I'm going, this is way too far.
Did you at least get a little slap and tickle for your sacrifice?
No. We were
That's a bunch of bullshit.
We were a chaste couple. We never went past first base.
No.
Old school first base, not modern first base.
Yeah.
And how old were you?
18.
Oh, no.
It's very respectable. What was...
Yes.
There was a more recent soap opera, and when I say recent, this is probably like 2 decades ago, that had witches and stuff in it. I don't want to say Passions.
Sunset Beach.
And it had some
Was that
weird...
Sunset Beach or was that Passions?
I think it was Passions.
I think it was Sunset Beach.
No, it had a child... Like, it had a midget in it.
Oh, we don't say that.
A short person.
A little person.
A little person.
Bill Burr has this bit on that where he says, like, he doesn't understand why little people have such a problem with the word midget, because it's not really meant to be anything negative. It's just meant to be what is. It's like, that's a table, that's a chair, and you're a midget. And he says he thinks little person is even more condescending,
yeah.
because it's like you're saying, oh, you're just a little person. Yes, you are.
See, I find the term dwarfism worse than midget.
Well,
But I realize that one's
dwarfism
medical,
is a
yeah.
thing. Well, a dwarf is somebody who's like,
Mini-me?
I think you have to be under 5 foot, but it's like between there's a very specific height requirement to be a dwarf.
See, I just hear dwarf, and because my wife's a fantasy fan, I think like the Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah. Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, I'm expecting like big beards and carrying an axe. I'm like
Hairy feet.
You know, yeah.
Did you ever see the episode of King of Queens when Leah Remini gets robbed by a little person at the mall?
No.
He's all flirting with her, and he's distracting her so he can steal her wallet. And then she goes to the police, and the detective... I think he was a dwarf. Alright, this is going to sound weird. This is going to sound weird. But there was something sexy about him because he was all, a dwarf. But he had a man's face, and he was like really masculine, and he had a real deep voice. So he played like the detective role very convincingly, except that he was a dwarf.
Yeah. I think something I didn't like about this storyline is people
So
sort
Tony's just gonna act like I didn't say any of that.
Revenge. You no sold him, he's no selling you.
So you're saying that the dwarf had big dick energy. That's what you're saying.
Yes, I would say that. Yeah.
Which is ironic, given. Never mind.
Well, we don't know.
shorts.
I don't know. Well, I don't. The only. Well, I don't know if it's a dwarf. I think he was a little person. The only little person I've seen naked was the one who used to be on Jackass.
Oh yeah.
There was a naked picture of him out there, and yeah, he had baby dick. Oh, and he was in a movie with Felissa Rose.
Okay.
Called Slaughter Party.
Way to tie it back.
See, yeah, people were saying this storyline is a commentary on old school horror versus new school horror, and I'm just like, oh, I think you're reading a bit much into it.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. It just seems like two jackass neighbors arguing over lawn decorations.
I feel this one should have had a happy ending, just to split to give the movie a bit of fresh air. Where I would have been happy had this been an act between the two.
This is like more along the lines of something that a premise that you would see on a sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew there was something off about it. I'm watching it the first time. I just kept thinking, is this really supposed to be scary or anything? Like, it's just, yeah, it feels very much sitcom-y until the very sudden ending. That, and I was really distracted by the now the guy in the dreads, because I recognized him immediately when the story started. He, most people know him as the kid, the older kid from Independence Day, but I first saw him in a really shitty movie called The Doom Generation.
Oh. Does that have Rose
both
McGowan?
of you know it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen Independence Day either. So.
It's monumentally bad.
Well, I didn't like it, but it has a cult following. Yeah. Like, kind of like some of what's his face's movies do, Larry Clark, because it's got that gritty.
Yeah, it was made around the same time, and that Harmony
Korine, yeah.
But it's also weird. Like, there's so many non sequitur moments. Like, I remember there's a scene where they're driving, and there's the kid and Rose McGowan, and then they pick up a third person, and they're having this conversation. I don't remember what the hell the conversation is. It's completely irrelevant to it. But then there's an awkward silent moment, and then this kid pops up and goes, "I fucked a cantaloupe once." And then the scene ends.
To fill the void.
It just, and then the scene stops. It's just slam cut to the next scene. And I remember watching it with a buddy, and we both just kind of looked at each other like, did that happen? Did that line really happen? And the movie's just full of those. Like, there's another one later on, at the very end of the movie, where this guy gets his dick cut off by terrorists. Or not terrorists, rednecks. And so the hitchhiker and Rose McGowan end up escaping, and they're both covered in blood, and they're driving in the car, and they're gone, and it's the next day, and they're still driving, and the guy's sitting in the front seat, and he's eating Doritos, and he just goes, "Want a Dorito?" Like, you just got away from people who cut someone's dick off, and you're covered in blood, and your concern is Doritos.
Yeah.
Well, your concern was probably, when is Rose McGowan going to flash them titties again?
Oh my god.
Well, yes, at the time, but that was a very big concern. Now she's a crazy chick, so no.
Well, I wonder why. She's been through
quite a lot.
I mean, quite a lot, yeah. But we do still endorse her on the Blind Range podcast.
Yes. Something I was quite happy about when Wes Craven died is she gave a glowing review of him. And I felt that of everyone who would shit on someone who died, she would be the most likely. And so the fact that she said that she had a lovely experience with him made me appreciate that he was a good guy.
I think maybe during her dating Marilyn Manson days, she might have.
Yeah, I could see that.
Might have what?
Said something negative about Wes Craven.
Oh, okay, well. I don't remember that, but... no, but... So when...
Well,
when
how do you think he got the part in Jawbreaker?
I don't know.
Because he was dating Rose McGowan.
No, I know, but what's that to do with Wes Craven?
Because she was a little more edgier at that time, and she was trying to fit into
his mold. Okay.
His mold, yes. And she was showing up on the red carpet with completely transparent dresses.
Which I actually thought was a nice dress. Like, I think she was ahead of her time with that one. I'm being whimpered at.
So, this story is interesting. It's odd. My main annoyance with this one is the Jason analog makes too many damn noises and too many weird faces. Like, it's like he went to Bill Cosby acting school.
Oh, no.
Well, and she was one of his victims.
Oh
It's a dirty Wilson.
Oh my god. In all fairness, I don't think Bill Cosby ever went to acting school.
Oh yeah, no. I'm pretty sure that's a safe bet. I think the Cosby Show was successful in spite of him.
Yes.
Like, people acting around him.
Well, that's the same thing with Seinfeld. Jerry isn't an actor. He knows he's not an actor. He knows he's not any good. He's said it many times. The whole reason the show was as successful as it was because of everybody else.
I was
That's
never
why
a fan,
he really-
but I could believe that.
That's why he really didn't do much acting other than Seinfeld, aside from the occasional
B movie.
cameo on like fucking. Was he on Veep?
B movie.
Oh, B movie. Yeah, he was a voice in B movie. But he was on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But he was playing himself.
Yeah.
He and Julia and Jason.
Alexander,
They
yeah.
all, yeah.
This is very old school Peter Jackson.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Speaking
really
of
early
which,
Sam Raimi.
we need to do Brain Dead at some point.
I'm happy to do Brandon.
I would like to do Bad Taste, but very little of it is dialogue, and I would be lost immediately.
And I don't actually remember Bad Taste as being as I think Brain Dead is a lot better.
Well, yeah, because Peter Jackson basically did Bad Taste by himself.
Yeah.
He made the alien heads in his mother's oven.
Are you kids still up? Or are you tucked away in bed? The night isn't over, and you're far from safe.
I actually reckon this movie was kind of aimed at parents who wanted to show their kids a horror movie.
No!
I do.
I gotta be the princess.
You would be a terrible parent. You do realize that.
Well, I was introduced to horror quite young.
I think we all were.
Yes, but now it's a very different time.
I remember talking
shit.
about horror movies in show and tell.
I'll be honest. If I thought my kids were mature enough at the same age that I did, I would have shown them. They weren't. I'm not trying to sound like I was just this awesome, mature 8-year-old. I'm not trying to blow my own horn here, but they were more normal 8-year-olds. I was an aberration. So, I could laugh at Friday the 13th at the age of 8. I recognized the tropes the first time I watched it, but I am the weird one. They are the normal ones. And me trying to show them at that age would have probably resulted in them sleeping in our room until they were in their teenage years and lots of therapy. So
Yes. Most people have a college fund, you have a therapy fund.
yeah.
See, my thing was because I had much older sisters and they used to watch horror, so that's why I was introduced to it. But yeah, if you only got yourself and a sibling at the same age, it would be scarier to watch.
Hello, kid. Don't scream, don't run. We won't hurt you. I'm not here to steal your fucking candy, kid.
I'd say this is probably my favorite story of the bunch.
I think this was the one that reminded me most of movie 43, because there was one with a leprechaun.
Hey, kid. You've done really good so far.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm gonna call your daddy.
I don't remember the leprechaun story, though.
It was the one with
Daddy,
Johnny Knoxville,
I'm fine.
and Gerard Butler played the leprechaun.
Oh, right. Yeah, the really foul-mouthed leprechaun in the basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want my pot of gold or whatever?
Kind of a cross between that and the credits sketch with Elizabeth Banks and the cartoon cat.
I love Elizabeth Banks.
Hello?
She's so funny.
Speaking. Listen very carefully, Mr. Rex. We have your son. You don't want to see him alive again. We're going to do
Have you guys seen Walk of Shame?
No.
No.
That's right.
I've lived it.
You should.
You made a terrible mistake. You're in no position to make.
I'm assuming that's an Elizabeth Banks comedy movie.
Yeah. She has a one night stand, I think, with I think it's James Marsden. And she's a news anchor woman. And the whole movie is centered around her trying to get back to the studio for a very important broadcast regarding something I don't remember. And yes, shenanigans ensue. But it was very funny.
It was like that Grab That Doll episode.
Lock the door. Lock the door.
Although for years now, I've been wanting to rewatch the movie Ruthless People, because that's my favorite from my childhood. And again, this storyline made me yearn for that movie.
I haven't seen that in forever. As a matter of fact, the one time I've seen it is probably the last time I've seen it is probably the only time that I've seen it. But I just remember, I don't have a bad memory of it. It's just I've never gone back to it. But I remember it being that kind of like, I think that was probably my first introduction to that kind of like sick, dark comedy.
Yeah.
Again, all roads lead to Madge. She was originally chosen for the Bette Midler role.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Also, again, this is a fork here. Elizabeth Banks did a movie with Madge.
Okay.
Do you know which one that was?
The Sex Book. I don't know which one.
The Sex Book. Okay, you're not even trying.
A League of Their Own.
No, Elizabeth Banks would have been quite young. Elizabeth Banks was in Swept Away.
Oh, I remember hearing that. You know, I actually felt I didn't mind Swept Away as much as other people hated it, but I actually thought Madonna should have played Madonna. That would have made it funnier.
Well, that's what a lot of people... Well, this is what I didn't understand with all the vitriol toward Swept Away. It was because, well, everybody has always said that Madonna's only good acting was in Desperately Seeking Susan, and that was because she played herself. And then all the negative reviews came out about Swept Away, and they said she was so bad because she was only playing herself. Okay. And no, no, she wasn't playing herself because her character was. All right, never mind. I'm going to turn the page.
Just add a link to your review of it.
Yes, I do a commentary for Swept Away on the Blind Rage podcast all by myself.
Don't wanna.
And I also do a bit of moaning and complaining about why people hated the movie so much, and it's undeserved
spot.
Whatever. Yes.
I have nothing to say. I've never seen it.
And it goes to show that I am not just a fan of the movie because I am a fan of Madge, because Guy was not very nice to her during their marriage, and or after their marriage. So if I was as ardent a Madge fan as I was at one point, I would have been like, fuck this movie. But I still think she has worked with a lot of guys, or maybe Guy, by the way.
Guy
Ritchie, Guy Osiri. There's one of her songwriter. Well, one of the songwriters on Ray of Light was Guy. What's his name? Sigsworth or something. And I've never met a single person named Guy before, ever.
Now, Jed, would you like to take us away from this Madonna black hole?
Yeah, but the first thing to come to mind was John Landis and the Twilight Zone experience, and I don't.
Yeah,
know
we don't endorse John Landis on the Blind Rage podcast.
Well, so I don't know that I can make it funny.
Please don't try.
No. It's not that. So everyone knows about John Landis and Twilight Zone and Vic Morrow. Yesterday, my wife and I were watching a riff tracks of a movie called 1990 Bronx Warriors.
Oh, that sounds marvelous.
It is incredibly atrocious. It's an Italian post-apocalyptic movie. It is beyond terrible. For some reason, this movie stars Vic Morrow. It was made and released in the year that he died. And there was a line in the movie where a superior officer, because Vic Morrow is the bad guy, he's being yelled at by his boss. And the line that the person uses is, "If you don't fix the situation, I'm going to have your head." And I heard that, and my face immediately went into my hands like, oh my God, that is so unfortunately prophetic. So see, funny, but not really funny. Like,
yeah.
No.
Lost in translation.
Yeah.
Did you hear that thing that John Landis said about the whole Twilight Zone thing, like some years later? I think he was asked about it at a panel at a convention or something like that.
What did he say?
And I can't remember word for word, but it was something like, yeah, what happened to him was terrible, and what happened to the kids was terrible, but at least they got to be in the movie.
What had happened? Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Jed, I'm going to let you take this one because I can't.
So there's multiple problems here. Both aside from the fact that John Landis illegally paid for child labor under the table, what happened with Vic Morrow and two kids was that. Have you seen Twilight Zone, the movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So there's this one sketch in the movie where Vic Morrow is playing a guy. He's an old cranky racist, kind of an Archie Bunker, but not funny kind of type. Mm-hmm. And he ends up traveling back in time to different periods. And it's kind of like that show Quantum Leap where the guy leaps into someone else's body, but it looks like the real person. Well, he ends up kind of jumping into other people's bodies of different races and experiencing the racism.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a point where he leaps into a Vietnamese person during the Vietnam War. And so American GIs are shooting, and his scene is supposed to be that he scoops up these two kids and he's taking them to safety. And there was a stunt with a helicopter, and there were fireworks going off to simulate explosions in the water, and one of the fireworks blew up at the wrong time into the helicopter's tail, and it caused it to spin around and careen and crash, and it crushed Morrow and the two kids, and Morrow and one of the kids were decapitated.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, all three died, but yeah.
Yeah.
Two got crushed and lopped.
Yeah,
So there was a lawsuit that dragged on for like 5 years. It was a civil suit. I don't remember that John Landis faced any kind of criminal charges because it was a fluke that it kind of went off. But still, he did face a civil trial, and he's always been very
unapologetic.
That's exactly the right word. Yes.
Yeah. Like very flippant, and it's just his attitude about it. He has never really shown the kind of remorse that you
a little Alec Baldwin-y.
Yeah.
You don't have the slightest idea what you're doing.
So if this happened today, John Landis would be so canceled.
Oh yeah, canceled, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if he faced criminal charges.
Yeah.
Especially once it came out that he was also paying for illegal child labor on the set. So it was like he did nothing right in that whole thing.
Yeah.
No.
And so that now you see why that line in that 1990 Bronx Warriors movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was really, they couldn't have known, but
yeah.
Couldn't you fix that in post?
Yeah. You reminded me of something that happened in Australia. In Queensland, there's these theme parks, and one of them is very family. It's a, where there's one of those ring boats that goes down a river, and that sort of. Well, what had happened is the theme park operators were a bit negligent, and they let the water go too low, and the boat ended up flipping, and quite a few people died in it. But in the initial reports, because the paramedics come, and they are quoted as saying is that they found the people, and the official line is they had sustained injuries that were incompatible to life, and a lot of people got really angry that they used such stoic words, and it got to a point where the ambulance people had to then give all of the examples of when they would use that type of terminology, and so it would be to do with cases of death by fourth degree burns and decapitation, and having to actually read what that meant made it worse. To then, like, I was quite happy with that analogy in the first place, because but to then have to go into details of what these families have to go through was more unpleasant than using terminology that was correct. And the reason I had to use the terminology is because in Australia, like, the coroner actually declares someone dead. You can't, the paramedic doesn't. So,
Sit in a fucking chair.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing here in America, that the paramedic can't do that. Only coroners and doctors.
And there's another head.
Bullshit. Every year. This town goes batshit crazy.
And here's where we get the movie's incredibly lame attempt to try and tie into all the other 9 stories.
Mm-hmm.
Kids looting convenience stores. There's even a fucking report of a UFO. I mean, this is.
It took me forever to recognize who that was. The woman, Christina Klebe.
Oh, what's
Where is she from?
She plays Linda in the Rob Zombie Halloween movie.
Oh, God.
I guess
know I knew that name.
Like, I sat here looking at her for the longest time going, where have I seen her before? Where have I seen her before? And then I look it up, I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah, she was naked for a long time in that movie. Really uncomfortable. Like, that felt very leering. That shot, like, I know you hate it, and I will defend that movie to the hilt for my own reasons, not the dialogue. But that, no, the dialogue cannot be saved. No one can defend that except Rob Zombie. But that shot of her, like, PJ Souls shot, fine. It's shot here, quick. Here's my boobs, done. Poor Christina's nude scene was just a little male gazing. Yes, thank you. I couldn't find the word. That is perfect. It went on too long.
What about poor Danielle Harris?
Oh yeah, that was awkward too. Hey, let's get you topless and then have you run around covered in blood.
Well, maybe they were up for it. Weren't you saying, Brandon, that the naked woman in My Bloody Valentine was quite happy to be naked?
You cut out what?
There was a woman in My Bloody Valentine that ran around naked.
Yes. And I was... it was funny because I was actually listening to the commentary of that. And they shot that. Well, what I had said was, because it was in 3D, you could really see...
read her lips.
Everything. But it was shot in the summer, and I don't remember where it was shot, but I think it was Texas or something, and it was really warm. So she was totally fine and completely comfortable with just walking around naked in front of everybody for the in front of the whole crew. And because she was so comfortable, everybody else was so comfortable. But she was comfortable to the point where there was a moment where she was supposed to throw a gun or something at one of the characters, and she missed, and it went under a truck or a trailer or something, and she was like, oh shit, and she went to go get it, and the director was like, no, we'll get it, don't worry.
We appreciate your dedication, but
Lord. You know, I actually thought this was Kevin Williamson here. And I looked it up. It's not.
Well, he was a failed actor.
Yes. And you might say failed screenwriter.
Yes, yeah. Did you see my review of Showgirl Murders on Letterboxd?
No.
Well, the star of Showgirl Murders was a B film actress by the name of Marie Ford, and she was in a movie called, well, the original title was Hot Ticket, and then they changed it to Strip for Action, which is an awful title. But it was shot around like I want to say 93, 94, and I don't think it came out until 96. And this was when Kevin Williamson was still trying to be an actor, and I think that was one of his first or only on-screen roles in a movie. And he plays this music is very Creepshow. He plays a camper who's in like the wrong place at the wrong time. He sees something that he shouldn't, and there's a kidnapper with a gun who's going to shoot him, and he's at the edge of a cliff, and he says, This is really stupid line where he says, "Hey man, I don't know what you're doing or what you guys are up to, but I got no beef with you. And you know, if you want, I got some money and I got some weed." And the guy just goes, "Do you have a pair of wings?" And shoots him, and he goes over the cliff. And with all the scream and "I know what you did last summer" bullshit, I was like, yes. If only there's a movie with Rob Zombie and Eli Roth going over a fucking cliff. My life would be complete.
With this extra long credit sequence. I was actually expecting a storyline in the credits. That's how long the credits.
Well, maybe there's a post-credits
No, there isn't.
scene.
No.
Although apparently the company Clover Corp was to do with Halloween 3. The people that make the pumpkins.
I mean, it could be like it could be kind of like a half-hearted reference, but the company from Halloween 3 is Silver Shamrock.
Yeah.
Oh no, but like because of the clover. Yeah, it wasn't a direct.
Well, there is a company making replicas of
Of the Silver Shamrock masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they used the Silver Shamrock masks in Halloween, whatever, the last Halloween movie. Halloween.
Okay.
Evil Dies Tonight.
Halloween Kills. Ugh.
Yeah. That popped up on HBO Max now, and it's the extended cut. And
Oh my God! There's an extended cut.
There's an extended cut, and every now and then I pass by and I'm like, do I do it? Do I see how bad it is? And then I think, but it's like 2 hours plus. Why would I do that to my? It's one thing to go into a movie like Movie 43, which has this bad reputation, but it's so bad you can't really believe it. It's another thing to go into a movie like Halloween Kills, where even the most ardent Halloween fan has a hard time defending it.
Yeah. Wait, you feel depressed for losing that much of your time?
Yeah. And I just don't know. I enjoy seeing if movies are really as bad as they are, but I can't imagine, seeing as how I hated Halloween 2018, I can't imagine what I'm going to get out of Kills.
Yeah, I hated 2018 too, but I think that for the most part, it was like more split, like I would say maybe a 65% liked it, and the rest didn't. But with Halloween Kills, it's like fucking 90% of people did not like it. It was just not good at all. See
And
my
from
Letterboxd review.
And from what I've heard, it also kind of drags down 2018.
Well, I haven't heard anything about Halloween Ends, so I wonder if they're scrambling to get the best people to work on it as possible, or if it's being shelved or what.
No, it's all steam ahead. Last I read, it's full. It's all systems go, and it's supposed to be coming out this October
in cinemas.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they're going to pull that off here. It's March 20.
No, it's not.
It's Smarch.
Damn smart weather.
Yeah. Damn Smarch weather. Thank you. It is an indeterminate time. They just don't have time left, is the point.
Mr. Van Houten, you have the floor.
What am I?
You want to know if there's like spaghetti on the menu because you don't want to serve your son spaghetti twice.
I don't like the idea of him having 2 spaghetti dinners in one night. Do not touch Willie. Good advice.
Yes.
Come on, man. You're a Simpsons fan, Brandon. You should recognize this.
I know exactly what you're doing. And he got poor Lisa with hedge clippers.
Oh, that's right.
He got me with his floor buffer.
Little Maggie with her little fucking
Pacifier.
nipple on the what was it? What was their soda?
Oh, is it the one that you drink, Jeff?
Buzz Cola.
I think it's Buzz.
You know,
I love when they did the.
Sorry, you go.
I love when Maggie did the reenactment of the Britney Spears Pepsi commercial.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, she's like dancing like Britney in her crib to, I think, Oops, I Did It Again. And at the end of it, she just like, points the can of soda to the camera and then leans her head out and winks. Very, very Britney Pepsi commercial. It was cute. So, Jed, I have to ask you, how do you feel about Tales of Halloween now?
I hate it just as much the second time as I do the first. God, that was so bad. Oh, with the exception of the story about the kidnapping. Okay, and the last story. The last story is, it's so silly. It's kind of hard to hate.
The one with all the pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the ending is a little bit kind of like, well, damn it, I want to see more. I want to see the war against the pumpkins. But it's just, the rest of the stories are just so, there's not much to them. Some of them are really caustic and cynical. The first two are very, the way that they end with kids in peril or a kid getting blown away by the police.
That's the most absurd moment in the entire movie, I will say. If they were going for realism, they failed miserably.
I think it was a fun movie. I don't give it 2 thumbs up at all, but I'm happy. I was gonna get my nephew to watch it because he enjoys this type of shit. But it wasn't a difficult watch for me again.
I thought it was fine. I was just, as you both know, I was scrambling for movies for this month, which would be October.
I get those 2 months mixed up.
I was scrambling for Halloween themed movies that not everybody does, and I was kind of teetering between this and The Houses October Built, which was kind of very by the number mockumentary. I wasn't wild about it.
Okay. Did you end up watching The House That Jack Built?
No. And I think I have it in an audio described version too.
You know what's sad is you saying, linking Halloween and October and just saying found footage. I just thought of a movie.
Tell me.
WNUF Halloween Special.
Oh yeah, that was good. I think it just came out on Blu-ray.
Did it?
I think so, yeah. I saw that I haven't seen that in a long time, but yeah, that was good. It really had that that Halloween special feel down. I think it accomplished everything that it was trying to.
I think I'm of two minds. I agree it definitely accomplished the feeling that it was going for. I think it was also so committed to doing that, like with all the commercial breaks. I think the commercial breaks ruined the momentum of the story. Because it's like chopped up into 7-minute increments. So it's like story, fake commercials, story, fake commercials, story. And it just, that kind of threw me off. But it really does feel like a lost videotape of a TV broadcast. They really got it down very well.
Yeah, and I thought the lead guy as the host was really what made it work because he came across as very natural.
Yes, had that arrogance of a local TV reporter that thinks that he's Peter Jennings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if they had chosen the wrong actor for that role, it would have killed the entire movie because the whole movie was on his shoulders and on his performance.
Mm-hmm.
And if he fucked it up, it would have been down the shitter. I'm trying to think if it ever had a DVD release. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it just came out on Blu-ray not too long ago by one of the boutique companies, Synapse, or I don't think Vinegar Syndrome. It might have been Synapse or Jed. You have a computer right in front of you. Why are you not looking this up?
I am looking it up. I've been doing that right as we were talking. It is available on Blu-ray. On Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available for Prime Video. So yeah.
And who put it out?
It doesn't say. It just says ships from Amazon. Doesn't mention who it's from.
Scroll down, Jed. Product description, Jed.
Oh, description. Product. Stall for time, would you?
I was going to say, now, while you two are doing that, I'm just going to be a moment away from the screen.
Oh, Tony's got to poop again.
No.
It doesn't say who put it out. The product information doesn't mention it.
Oh. Well, that's weird.
Yeah, it just
How
says,
much is it?
It's currently on sale $21.48. Normally list price that's on sale for 39% off. List price is $34.98.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know that it's worth that much.
That's got to be Vinegar Syndrome then. Well, yeah, the boutique ones are usually more expensive because they generally go out of print,
right?
Pretty quickly, and they're sold to a very niche market. But
now I didn't know you to go back one out, but I have been watching my kids tear apart a cardboard box just outside my window, so I've had to put them in the other room.
Why were they not allowed to play with a cardboard box?
Well, because they eat it. I don't think it's good roughage to. And also, it's got weeds in it, so I don't want them eating the weeds.
It's got weeds.
Well, I used it as a garden bin.
Where's Matthew?
He was sleeping, that's why.
Ugh. I have no words for you people.
We need to now sleep in shifts now, the dogs. Don't let us sleep.
Okay. Well, I'm still trying to figure out the schedule for this month for the Halloween themed movies, but I do know what I'm going to do for the last month, and I mean, the last week, and it's going to be a surprise. And Tony knows all about it. I'm going to ask that you keep your Croatian lips zipped. But yes, so we will be back next week, which will be the second week of October, by the way, with another Halloween themed horror movie to go with the Season of the Witch. So I want to thank Tony, as always, for joining me.
Pleasure.
Jed, it's always a blasty blast when you're around.
Being the
And a pleasure to be here as
hetero
well.
wrangler.
Yes, the hetero wrangler. Yeah, yeah. Last time you took us to the prom,
Yes.
and we both put out.
Oh my God.
So
I have no idea how to segue from that. That's you're the host. You do that.
well, we were careful, so I'll say that. There won't be any prom night dumpster babies.
Oh my God.
So yeah,
I'm still
I
popping
hope.
lice between my fingers, though.
Oh, see that was that was next level. All right. Okay. So yeah, I hope you guys will. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys will tune in next week for some more Halloween debauchery on the Blind Rage podcast. So until then, this is Brandon Ford wishing you all unpleasant dreams.